All right, welcome to this week's edition, I should say extra edition, of the Casual Shooters Podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. The guest for this week's extra episode is familiar to the show. He's been on here before, and just like last time, Crosby and Stills is not with him. So if you would, take a moment and join me in welcoming Matt Nash to the show. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
So it's been a bit since we've had you on.
Yes, a lot has transpired.
A whole lot has transpired. Like an entire season of shooting has transpired.
Yeah, it's been good times.
Yeah. So how was your 2022 for you?
22 was long. I think at the beginning of the season, I knew World Shoot was going to happen. So, maintaining that kind of level of focus and commitment, especially with a 2-year-old in the house, now 3-year-old, is challenging. Also with work and stuff, I'm a full-time Leo, so it's a lot. But it was very rewarding. It's something I've been working towards for many years. I collected a couple major wins, had some really good team support, shot the Pan American, the World Shoot, and then came back and did the Pan American Extreme right after pretty much turn of the year. So those are 3 huge IPSC matches, kind of all rack and stacked in 2022 / right at the turn of the year.
Now, you shot Caribbean Open too, didn't you?
I did the Caribbean Open as well. I was trying to get as much IPSC flavor as I could into my schedule, and they kind of run an more IPSC-oriented stage designs with some USPSA thrown in there.
So that was a deluge. Now, the Pan American, was that a deluge for you too?
As far as?
The weather and the rain?
Yeah, that was, now that I think back, that was an interesting one. Honestly, the weather really never bothers me as long as it's fair across the board. Where it can get challenging is when you do like a one-day format and then one day you have the worst inclement weather and then the rest don't. That's kind of how the cookie crumbles, but so I don't really let it bother me too much, but I do like to see how things stack up fairly. So like if from Pan American, like everyone kind of had to shoot the multi-day format through that stuff. Everybody had to deal with it. I actually like adversity, so that tends to put me in a more positive mindset, and I love seeing people start to complain about it. I just feed off that.
Yeah, it gets them out of their game. Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Absolutely. I totally get it. Now, Delmarva, did you shoot Delmarva in the rain, or did you get one of those days where there was no rain?
I thought I had a great match, and my hat's off to the staff there. Things that bother me during inclement weather is pace of shooting. I'm the kind of shooter that likes to keep shooting. My hardest mental time is when I'm the first shooter, and then I know I have to be like at the end for the rest of the matches. I like to keep going. So that pace was amazing through the rain. Just like little things like how fast the ROs responded to a call on the radio, bags off. Like bags were off. It wasn't a big thing. The transition was so smooth that all the shooters had the bags off at the same time at all the stages, and we just kept going. In fact, I think even with the weather, that was one of the fastest matches I've shot in a while. So hats off to McPhee and all the staff there.
Oh, wow. All right, so we'll go back to 2022 here real quick. But when you said the Pan American and all of that, all of a sudden, I don't know why, but rain came in my head. So
yeah,
now,
I didn't think about it, but Puerto Rico kind of prepared me for that a little bit. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, Puerto Rico, man, just looking at the videos from Puerto Rico, that was pretty bad. I was like, you could use a kayak there to move from stage to stage.
Yeah, Mason and I knew it were bad when we looked across the bridge and we just saw coconuts kind of going down the stream. It was pretty funny. We just started cracking up. But,
are you sure there's one people and all you could Are you sure there's one people and all you could see was the very top of their head?
Yeah. We're Marines, so if it's not raining, we're not training. So you and I are very used to it.
Man, when I was in the Philippines and it was during the monsoon season, and we were out doing some training, and we came back, and it had been raining, and this small little stream had turned into a torrential flowing river. And like Marines will do, we took all of our gear off. We just had on our BDUs and our boots, and one guy went out, grabbed a tree in the middle of this thing, and then another guy grabbed his legs, and I was at the end. I was like fishtailing it back and forth through the river. How none of us died, who knows? But I mean, we are what we are.
Yeah.
That's why people say we eat crayons. I don't care, though.
It's funny. Your staff NCOs, even if it's not raining, will find a way to get you wet.
Yeah. Now, how was production nationals for you?
Ooh, I gotta think back. That was pretty good. I was a little conservative in the beginning. I ended up picking it up at the end and salvaging. I think I got 15th. Fell short of my goal of top 10 and kind of competing, mainly because of that beginning. I got to figure out how to come out of the gate a little bit better. So that's something I'm going to focus on over the next couple years. But towards the end, I was able to make adjustments, make improvements, really pick up my pace and speed and trust myself. A lot of it is mental in this sport, as you guys know. So
yeah,
for me, I'm at the point where I don't want to make any mistakes, and I don't have the skill level to kind of throttle it back and compete with like the Mason Lanes of the world. So I really have to deliver my best every stage, and that's hard to do on a multi-day event. But I'm proud of where I was by mid-match and end of the match. I'm really proud of the skill sets that I was able to accomplish over the last couple of years and show it there. And I think I have a chance of getting top 10 and consistently on that super squad a little bit more.
Now you so since then you've shot the Pan American Extreme, World Shoot, Delmarva, now the Buckeye Blast. Have you done any specific training since nationals for those? No, okay.
No, I'll be honest. I was the first time in 7 years I was burnt out after World Shoot, and then to put icing on the cake, I had to go do, because of rescheduling, I had to go do the Pan American Extreme, and that's like a multi-day event as well. So after that, I didn't touch a gun for the first time in 7 years, really. I took 2-3 solid months off. Delmarva, no practice sessions, just rolled right into it. Same thing with Ohio State. Now, I'm seeing my results from those and where I need to be at. So I'm going to start ramping it back up here because now we're in a qualifying year. So I got to get ready for the end of the year for production nationals, IPSC nationals, and then I'm going to Greece to shoot the Extreme Euro Championship or the Euro Championship. So
okay,
I'll get back up now.
Okay. So do you feel like those 3 months, 2 to 3 months, did you good?
It did. Like I can feel like my muscles and everything's relaxed. I got to center my attention back on my family, which is most important to me. Kind of re-energized me, but I'm kind of ready. I'm ready to get back at it now. I got the itch, which is a good thing. So
yeah, absolutely. That's what gets you back in training.
Yep.
So I get it. I mean, last year, yeah, I guess your season would have started. Wasn't Caribbean Open like the end of January or February, somewhere in there?
Yeah, and if you think about like the rescheduling the World Shoot, I never really took off for 2 years. I mean,
holy cow!
If it wasn't for the ammo shortage, I would have been shooting a lot more and even training harder. Just a hard time getting ammo these days, but I still put a ton of ammo down range and practice and sacrifice some family time. So it was almost a long 2.5 years. I didn't want to take any time off because I didn't know when it was going to be rescheduled either. You kind of thought it would carry over to the whole another year, but you didn't know where they might throw it in. So I kind of just stayed primed up the whole time. And I felt until I knew 2 months out World Shoot was happening, I was starting to get burnt out. I was like, oh man, this is just a grind. And it's, to maintain that kind of level of commitment and focus, with a day job and family, it's hard.
Oh, absolutely. It gives
but
you
once
no
World
free
Shoot
time.
came around, it was all excitement and I was charged back up.
Now, did you go over to World Shoot alone? Did any of your family go?
My family didn't go. You know, it's hard with a 2-year-old to kind of put all that responsibility on my wife. You know, she's traveled the world too, so she would have been comfortable. But for me, I also wanted to stay with my family or my friends or family. Uh, you know, my Team Boneyard crew of Casey, Mason, Murph, and all them. Like, I wanted to stay in the house with them because I knew I was going to need their support, being my first world shoot. And it definitely paid dividends, just being ready for that match. So it would have been tough. Now, I am taking my family to Greece this year to
Nice.
the European Championship, so that'll be fun.
Okay, let's. All right, we'll come back to that one then. Now, at the World Shoot, you stayed with those guys. Did you shoot? Were there any other American team shooters on your squad?
Yeah, so I shot on the USA team. So I had Casey, Reed, and Mason with me.
Okay.
Sal couldn't make it, unfortunately. Some logistical challenges there. So it was just the three of us on the team. And, you know, we had Eric on our squad. We had the Italians on our squad. So we had some really good shooters overall on our squad. And those Italian guys shooting for Tampa were amazing.
Eric.
Graffel.
Never heard of him. Oh boy. Well,
Yeah.
the reason I asked was June Kim went, but he was a late addition, and he was the only American on his squad, so he was having to figure everything out on his own. Yeah. So I assume that with three of you there, you know, you could talk about the different stages and things to worry about in attack and things like that.
Yeah, it was probably a little harder for June, but that's part of the experience too. You know, I made some good friends around the world at this match. Looking forward to hopefully seeing them at the end of the year again. You know, it's nice to travel. I mean, there were still a lot of Americans there, and between the days and opening ceremonies, he was still part of the general crew of Team USA there. So, but yeah, it must have been a little bit more challenging not to like trust bouncing ideas off some people and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, he said by the end there were a couple of guys that he could trust and start talking to them, but I mean going into it he was all by himself on an island. So
yeah, Mason said it kind of best. A lot has to go right just to get to go to World Shoot. You know, that didn't really sink into me because I kind of knew this was coming for 2.5 years. But now looking at resetting and trying to go one more time, you know, injuries, work, family life, just qualifying, you know, getting your logistics squared away. A lot really has to go to right. So the fact that he got to go and experience that, be that it may, he was on a squad by his own, is still remarkable, and I'm sure he enjoyed that experience as I did.
Yeah, he did. He had a great time, but you know, it was just that's why I asked, because when June and I talked, he told me about that. So that definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
Well, that's good too. Then there were a bunch of other Americans on your team then that had the same day off, shooting the same schedule. So did you guys hang out much afterwards?
Yeah, I don't know how much you know this, but Mason, Casey, and I are really close friends. We pretty much shoot all majors together. So for the last 3, 4, maybe 5 years, ever since, man, I don't even know when I went to Extreme Euro. But Mason, Casey, and I probably shoot 6, 7, maybe 8 matches a year together, something like that. So we went to Puerto Rico. I don't think Casey went to that one, but Mason and I pretty much are always paired up. We have Mid-Atlantic coming up at the end of the month. So like, to me, that was just like being back home, being with Mason and Casey. So that, and then having Kay there as well. I shoot everywhere with Kay, and even Murph is typically in our house. So any major we go to, we usually get like what we call a Team Boneyard house, and it's usually like Luke Faust, Mason Lane, Kaylee, Casey, myself, Murph, Darren Thin, and Steve Lutman. We're pretty much always getting a house together for the last couple of years. So like that camaraderie, and also Phil Strader, that camaraderie is something that I really leveraged over there. It helped calm my nerves, because when I walked on stage, it was just like any other major, from the sense that I had my team there. So yes, it was Team USA and Americans, but they were also my best friends there shooting with me. Which
Phil Strader. I guess every house needs a joker.
Yes, every house. I'll tell you, our whole house is a bunch of jokers. So you put us all together, and you know, it's 50-50 if we make it to the match the next day. I will tell you, some people in the house have not made it to the match the next day.
Oh my goodness! I can see you guys in Thailand now. I could see Mason stealing a little jeepney, driving around, picking you guys up off the street to get you to the range.
Yes,
or Phil doing it.
Between feeding stray dogs, I forgot my belt. We made it like halfway on the last day to the match, and I forgot my belt in the house, so we had to turn around and go back. You know, I'm trying to get our driver that we built a relationship over the week to like speed it up. And I was the first one on that stage. And it was funny. I was doing my walkthrough really flustered, you know, trying to get ready and everything. Last day, I was first one up and literally finished my last walkthrough, kind of like everyone else had dispersed from the stage. And so I kind of did my one last clean one by myself, you know, and the RO's like, hurry up. And they're all about business there. You know, 1 minute, make ready. It's more like 20 seconds and go. And Mason kind of whispered in my ear, he's like, hey, did you forget the activator? I was watching your walkthrough, and I never saw you look left. There's this one little steel on the left tucked. And I said, no, I thought it was the steel on the right that's the activator. And he's like, no, there's a left one. And I had to map it in my head during my make ready. And I shot it. I posted that stage. It was the hardest target I ever shot on that stage. And Mason saved me on there. I probably would have been flustered looking for an activator, a little popper tucked away for this hard up-down target if it wasn't for Mason. So my hat's off to Mason saving me on that one. It was my only mental mistake, and that was probably because I forgot my belt. So having the right gear, they told me from day one, like 8-9 years ago, having your gear work for you and have it on you is half the battle. And here you are at the World Shoot, forgot your belt.
There you go. Yep, that happens. Holy cow. I know in Korea it was hubba hubba honcho, and you better buckle your seatbelt because you're in for a wild ride. So did you partake of any of the street food, the street vendors?
Not technically, no, not the true street food. I think some of the people in the house did, but I was too scared of getting sick, and you know, even though I heard good things, I didn't really want to test it. And then we knew some other USA competitors tried street food and got somewhat sick, so that really kind of validated like stay away till the end. Now at the awards ceremony, excuse me, they had kind of like all street food vendors there, and you know, kind of like their version of the street trucks. And I tried that, and I ended up getting sick on the last day, really, really bad. I ended up having to cancel my flight and stay in a hotel room an extra day. It was so bad. Whoa. And so did Mason. So yeah, so good thing we waited to test the waters till the end.
Holy cow, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you like the Muay Thai fights?
That was really cool. You saw those pictures, and I got some videos. That was actually really, really cool. I'm glad we did that. You know, that was that and feeding and taking care of the elephants.
Yeah.
I only fed them. I didn't technically take care of them. Me and Murph didn't feel like getting all muddy. I guess we've been there, done that. But the rest of the house did. And that was actually the coolest. I would say they're equal. I love them both. I love animals, so they're kind of both cool in their own right. One to do a Thai event, and then the other one to actually chuck pineapples and bananas at an elephant and get up close and personal. That was cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. I've ridden an elephant before, right here in Fredericksburg.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to tell me about that one because I have still ridden an elephant.
It was one of the circuses, I forget which, came to the fairgrounds. Oh. And my oldest son was like 2-3 years old, whatever he was. He was very young. But you could go on elephant rides. So I paid for me and my son. We got up there and we rode, and elephant crapped, and it smelled terrible. And then we walked some more.
Fair enough.
It was cool though.
Look out for that one. My son would love that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Cool.
But I can imagine a legit Muay Thai fight, going there and watching fight after fight. That has to be intense to watch those dudes.
it was really cool the pace that they ran the show. I mean, I would imagine it wasn't like UFC. It would probably have been like a smaller type
Mm-hmm.
organization. We went during the weekday, so maybe their stars are on the weekend or something. But yeah, the fights were really amazing. The seats were amazing. We're like pretty much ringside. You know, that was a really cool event to see.
I feel like in Thailand, it's kind of like if you're a shooter in Arizona, you could shoot a match every single day of the week. If you're in Thailand, you could see Muay Thai fights every single day of the week.
You actually can, yeah,
Yeah,
multiple sites. They kept telling us that, so yeah,
I
that is
believe it.
true. But yeah, it's hard to probably find it here in Fredericksburg, you know, on a weekend.
Yeah,
UFC is probably closest. I'm sure there are circuits out there, but yeah, it was another thing to kind of see in Thailand, right?
yeah, exactly. Where the sport originated,
Yep,
completely different atmosphere.
yep.
Not a bunch of white pale dudes kicking and punching each other in America. It's not the same.
Yeah, you know, I travel all around the world for work. I've been to a lot of countries. You know, gearing up to go to a dozen or so in the next couple months again, and you know, those experiences are different than when with your friends doing things like that. You know, I've seen some cool
Yeah,
stuff for that usually the countries put things on display for the officials that I travel with, but it's a different thing to be able to kick back and do things with your friends and stuff like that. So this is kind of one of the things that I told Yimin when he was in the president's seat, or I'll continue to tell the organization is we need to have a little bit better outreach for USPSA members to understand IPSC and make that transition to experience some of those events. And I think Puerto Rico is a good step because the importing of the firearm and it arriving like on a conveyor belt with your baggage, like everything else, but just the sense of traveling essentially out of, you know, the continental United States and getting into
yeah.
another area is a step forward. So I encourage everyone to look at that if they're kind of nervous, and then bridge the gap from there and get to Europe and try IPSC. The community and the hospitality is on par with USPSA local matches and majors, and people you get to experience a different country to boot. So like, we're not just USPSA, we are an IPSC chapter or region as well, and we should do more. And I offer to any of your viewers, if anyone's interested and kind of nervous and just want to understand the logistics of that, feel free to reach out to me on email or Instagram, and I will help you get very, very comfortable with that.
And I agree with what you're saying because I've talked to my wife, and now I saw a lot of videos and I've seen a bunch of stuff from Extreme Euro, and that to me looks like a very challenging match and a very fun match. But the area, while it interests me, there's a lot of history there. It's not a big draw for my wife,
Okay.
but Greece might. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and there's matches all over. If you go on the IPSC, you don't have to attend like the Extreme Euros and shoot 10 stages a day. Although you're not pasting, so you do get the rest in between. But that is a lot. There are other matches you can go to on par with like maybe a level 2 here, where you're not really tiring yourself out, and then you can go explore the countryside. Sometimes you can string the matches together and shoot 2 smaller matches, in different countries, and take the train in Europe and stuff. So you definitely can plan. I mean, I always consider myself in my line of work a glorified trip planner. So I just do it for government officials, but definitely not as hard as people would think. I mean, pretty much the hardest thing is just getting your weapons permits for countries that require that to be processed through the embassy. But it's really not that challenging. And once you get over there and experience the hospitality that they have as an IPSC community is on par with USPSA, you're going to feel right at home. And now you're getting a whole different experience.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And my thing would be that would be one part of my trip. The rest of it,
Exactly.
it'd be like a week-long trip where we do a few days before, we'll do some sightseeing before, some sightseeing after, make it a week-long trip. But my question would be then for you, since we're talking about it, what would you tell somebody like that? What do they do with their firearm if they're not leaving the country immediately, but the match is over?
Yeah, so I've explored this. So I eventually, maybe not this year, but the following year, I would like to do Czech and Extreme Euro again. and you can build some relationships up there. We can maybe help you out with the match directors, but sometimes they'll store your weapons. So if you find a traveling route like Europe, for example, I'll give you a scenario. I was going to go into Czech, fly into that port of entry in Prague, travel to Extreme Euro, shoot the match, right? Have some
Okay.
fun during the half day format with my wife, so she's not completely alone all day. It's 10 stages, half day format, right? Then leave my gun with some of the local competitors there, right, that I trust, like match directors and things like that. Travel Europe, go up to Germany. Maybe I go down south to Croatia. The only thing I have to do is find my route back to Prague, which seems like challenging, but you can loop Europe in a
Right.
week and end up back in Prague to fly out, right? And get your gun before you fly out. There are people that would probably take care of you like that because they do like when Americans come there and shoot. And I can't speak for anyone, but like those connections exist. Like if that's something like a dream thing to go over there, shoot, but also make a family trip of it, there are connections where people will take care of you and help you out in that regard.
Okay. Something to think about then.
Yes, sir.
Now, were you happy that the shooting season was over then when you got back?
I didn't meet my goals at World Shoot,
Okay.
so the last 3 months has been a lot of reflection to see if I can do one more and reach my goals. And for me right now, it's come down to time management, just where my life is. I'm healthy. I'm still hungry to shoot and meet my goals, but like I have things that I love a lot, like my family, and I'm at a
Mm-hmm.
critical point in my job to advance. So two years is a lot of time, but like you got to kind of make that commitment now. So I'd be lying to you to tell you if I'm fully committed at this moment. I think IPSC, I think I need to find it out soon. And I think Delmarva this year in Ohio State kind of really motivated me, saying like, that's not where I want to finish. That's not where I want to end. And I got room for improvement. So it's likely like here soon, I'm going to either make that commitment or not. And I still have some unfinished business. I look at some of the great shooters in production and where they started at World Shoot, and I wasn't far off. By no means did I felt like I was too conservative in the match. That's part of the mental game, but Mason's told me that probably paid dividends because when people get reckless, it can hurt you really fast. So I don't necessarily hold that back, but I know I still have more to offer where I was at then. If I can just mentally get there. And then if I can, over the next 2 years, clean up some of those skill sets, I think I can, definitely make it in the top 10 and maybe be a contender if I commit to it. There's a lot that has to go right, though. Between family, work, staying healthy, a lot has to go right, but that's not in my control. What's in my control is what's in my head right now. And I still have not reached my goals. I would like to have one more to say it wasn't just my first and my last, that I came back and tried to make improvements and see where those chips fall. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just trying to see if it lines up with everything in the rest of my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hearing three things. I'm hearing one, you were unsatisfied, so you were not appeased. You still have an appetite because you didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe had you done what you wanted to do, you may not be doing this again because of family and work.
Yeah. If I reached my goals, made kind of top 10 and was really competing and running with the best more consistently, because there were stages that I ran with the best. There were several, and I was like, ooh, that showed me. I just got to build consistency and clean up some other skill sets that when you're not shooting your best stage, the damage is controlled, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like I got to find that other gear, and 2 years I know I can definitely find it. And if I would have made it in the top 10 at this match and been running, I probably would have earned the respect that I was looking for when I look in the mirror of what I was able to accomplish. and it would have been a lot harder choice with my 3-year-old. But I never want to. I'm the kind of person, like, at one point, like, I'm battling right now. I don't want to use my 3-year-old as an excuse to give up on a dream, but at the same time, I don't want to sacrifice all my time. So, like, I'm trying to balance that. Can I be there for my 3-year-old and commit? And for a lot of people that don't know, I travel a lot for work. So, like, I'm getting ready to go for a week and a half. So, like, it's not just shooting. Like, if it wasn't my job taking me away from my family, probably would be no brainer. I could definitely run it back. But it's a huge sacrifice to my family. My wife, having my 3-year-old cry at night and stuff like that for me when I'm traveling from work and shooting, it weighs on me, and I posted on Instagram at Ohio State, the fact that he's 3 and can understand a little bit what I'm doing, and then I get to come home and show him the shooting videos, and it's great. He'll look at me and he's like, "Is that you?" And I say, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, can I see Mason now?" And I'm like, I was like, "He wasn't at the match." And I was like, "So."
Oh, that's funny.
It's getting good that he understands, because when he was 2, he didn't really understand. He just knew I wasn't there. So that's helping a little bit, but it's still taken away from that. I'll tell you, I'm almost at the point where I'm so much looking forward to when he can start shooting, if he chooses to and enjoys it with me, because then I can just sit back, give my best for the day, enjoy it more as a hobby, and kind of coach him and see if he'll make his competitive goals come true.
Yeah, exactly. There isn't the pressure to compete on your end at that point. You're just out there having fun with your son.
I'm sure I'll be stressed trying to coach him, and the competitiveness in me will come, transcend to him. But that's if he likes it. I'll tell you right now, all signs point to he is going to love shooting. I'm at the point where I'm trying to dial him back a little bit because I'm scared, how schools will perceive it, like his interest and stuff. So I'm just, trying to make sure, that he understands it's a sport and things like that, right?
There you go. So you just there's 3 things you need him to do. You need to homeschool him, grow him up on a farm, and make sure he's 6 foot, and you're guaranteed to have a national champ. You're good.
I'm close.
That's
trying
it.
to see if we can get animals. We're close.
There you go.
I don't know if
See?
that qualifies as a farm, but if I get chickens and teach them how to feed them, maybe.
I think you're down.
All right, cool.
Now, how was the before we get off of the world shoot real quick?
Yeah.
What did you think of the ceremony at the end?
Oh, that was epic.
It looked epic from here.
Yeah. I haven't been to any other world shoots, so I'm not, Eric or Mason and them, but that's what you expect out of a world shoot. The size of the stage, the massive area, all the countries, I thought it was pretty organized. I was so just in the moment that I really did not nitpick it or judge it. So this is literally the first time I'm thinking about that. I know Team Boneyard had a case of beer on the table, so I thought it went well. I really wish I could have done a little bit better to get, Team America, because I'll tell you, Mason and Casey did a hell of a job. They deserve to be on that stage. I'll tell you, like, I didn't hold anything back. I did my best. I think it was to date the best match of my life. I think my performance shows that. I think technically, I had 1 penalty. It was on one of the hardest targets. I thought I hit a no shoot, but I didn't go up and look at it. It was that stage that I forgot my belt on, and maybe they didn't call it. Maybe I hit just the top of the white, didn't break the perf. I don't know. But I thought I called no shoot, but to almost shoot a penalty-free world shoot is pretty remarkable, especially when some of my times were on par with the best. So I was pretty proud. I will tell you that level of competition there, I'm not embarrassed by any means where I finished. That to see those shooters all perform like a super squad across the board, like there were no squads that you didn't feel the competition, the heat, and also just representing the country, everything that went into it, like the mental game I was able to bring, shooting my best, not minimizing mistakes, helping my team out, staying positive. I'm really proud. I didn't meet my goals, and I still have a lot left there, but man, I'm really proud of what I was able to accomplish. But I wish I could have got Mason and Casey on the stage. I'll tell you, that probably helped a little bit when Sal couldn't make it. That all that pressure's on me because they take the top 3 scores, right?
Yep.
And I kind of looked across the board, and this is true friends. I was sitting on the couch, and I know I made a comment to kind of test the waters to see where Mason and Casey's mind were. And I said something to the fact like, man, that's a lot of pressure, or something just provocative. Not that it was, just to see where they were. And immediately he said, we still have a hell of a team. I'll never forget that. Like, we're on the couch watching Cart Narcs, which is a great show, by the way. And they kind of just rolled that off. And, for them to give me that much confidence, my first world shoot, probably a ton of other competitors that could have made the team and be there. But the shot around the world, they knew my skill. They knew what I was capable of. To put me in that mental state speaks a lot to them. And I know I gave my best performance, and we were close. We were close to making the podium, I think because we all shot our best game. And, I think if we run it back, whatever American team goes, I know Casey and Mason will probably make it, but whatever American team goes, I know next time we'll make the podium. Definitely.
Okay. I don't think people realized, because I didn't, just how many people from the U.S. go. It looked like there were like 50 shooters.
Yeah, so if you think there's a team of 4 for every single division, then they give some open slots, usually down past that to like 5, 6, 7. So when you add that up, and then you also have your categories like, females and juniors. Mm-hmm. When you add all that up, it transcends into a ton of people. And then that's not only other people. There are other Americans that went and shot the pre-match, which shoots for scores, like Trevor and stuff like that. Really represented America in a great light and got to go there and compete. It's just not on this main set of match days. So, like, even if I don't get to go to World Shoot on the team next year or get an extra slot, so I'm not on the team, but I also get to shoot on the main match days, I'm going to try and go to pre-shoot just to still shoot my best. Now, it's a bigger challenge in my opinion, but I'm going to try and go no matter what if I commit to this next World Shoot.
Now, how did you like the moving targets there?
We probably got to get a little bit. I know this isn't USPSA's goal, but like at the national level and others, they got to get a little bit more challenging at the bigger majors to really allow Americans to excel there, especially on a World Shoot year. Or you don't have to maybe do it this year, but maybe next year on the World Shoot year, do it and then have a cooling off period. I know for your average shooter, those are very frustrating when you're doing over the tops at 25 yards that fast. Or like I said, the hardest target there was a slider with a swinger attached to it and a top down no shoot partial on it.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
When you have something like that, like it's hard to experience that. And I could see the confidence level and mindset for the IPSC shooters in Europe and so forth, because they're used to seeing those type of targets. And I could see us being a little bit more hesitant. I'll tell you, Mason and Casey still slayed it and got those points. But like for me, I was like, I've never experienced that. In one regard, mentally, you just kind of commit to it and go, and it usually will do better than if you've maybe experienced it once and not so good. So actually, it probably paid off for me a little bit. I said, let's go. But yeah, we got to get it would be nice to see that a little bit more trickled in the harder matches, just to get that experience and that way when we travel overseas. But again, I know USPSA is not built for that. I know the average shooter is not going to really appreciate those and like it. I'll tell you, I don't like it. That's very stressful to shoot targets like that.
Yeah, but Matt, I mean, as you said earlier, we are a region of IPSC, and I personally feel that if you're going to a national match, it doesn't necessarily have to be the area matches, but if you're going to go to a national match, then those top 20 guys need to be tested.
Yep.
Let's see who really is the better shooter.
Yeah. I think people rise to the occasion by no means too. Like even though I understand USPSA has a blend of hobbyists and athletes that really are trying to see what their limits are, I get that blend, but like everybody comes out there that is a competitor. Either if it's a hobby, when you step to the line, you can't tell me everybody wants to put their best on display, right? So like if you treat everyone like a competitor, I truly believe people will rise to those occasions and amaze themselves or take data back. But that's how we progress the sport. You got to keep in competition. You have to keep challenging people, right? You can't accept status quo because then you'll never evolve. So like especially with red dots and PCC and stuff like that, yes, production is going to get a lot harder if you're going to continue to challenge the technology that is making it somewhat more challenging to shoot, non-partials and closer targets. I think we're already seeing it. I saw it at Delmarva and I saw it at Ohio State. I was tested more on accuracy than I have traditionally been at those matches. And I think it's attributed to the more red dots that are in those divisions. I think it's only going to help production, ironically. Like Carry Optics is going to help me prepare for production, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So because this is where I was heading with this, if you would expand on more of what you were just talking, like in what ways were you tested at Delmarva and the Buckeye Blast?
Yeah. So there's what I call high level traps out there that I think we're seeing now only because of red dots, but traditionally you wouldn't see this with iron sights as much. For example, having to exit out of a position with a zebra or tuxedo target is pretty challenging because your mind's not going to want to stay committed and focused. And a high-level shooter may pull off of that target and draw a mic, right? And we're not going to want to stay there and confirm. We may not see that call in our sights because we're worried about getting out, right? Or you have a target that's an up-down within range for a carry optic shooter that's perfectly fine to shoot on the move, but now is really testing the waters of a production shooter. Do I shoot that up-down partial with a no shoot on the move, or do I turn it into another position? If I turn it into another position, I'm taking a half a second or more hit on time. So now I'm wondering, what's the field going to do here? Are there enough points to collect on this stage where I don't have to shoot that on the move and still have a good score? Or are there less points on the stage and now I'm like, man, time matters. I got to shoot that on the move and take my chance. We're seeing these challenges set up more now. At least I am in the last two matches, because carry optics lends it to shoot that for an average shooter much easier. Whereas now in production, I'm having to make those choices. Does that kind of make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And the reason I say that is twofold. I was going to pull something up for statistics purposes, but one, I was talking to Todd Jarrett in the last episode I put out.
Okay.
He said he had a 45-yard shot, and he went to Kevin. He's like, man, I couldn't tell you when the last time I had a 45-yard shot.
Yep.
And Kevin said, get used to it.
Yep. So I remember that shot at Delmarva, and I actually was excited, and I ran down range because I said, look, I haven't had data points on this. I want to see. And I was Alpha Charlie. And I said, I really want to see because I don't know. And that is good data to pick up, right? So I remember clearly that target because I ran down there before he could paste it because the one RO went all the way down there to paste it quicker. And I said, no, I want to see my hits. At Ohio State, I had a weak hand, strong hand, at least at 30, 35. I hadn't done that before. I had box targets at 25 yards, weak hand, strong hand. You'll see in one video I posted from Ohio State, I did a double reload because I ran to slide lock because I had to put 3 shots on up-down partials, no shoots at 25 yards that I just, with a lean that I haven't collected data on yet this early in the season. So it's like I'm putting 3 on that target because the mic hurts me more than the time on those shots, right? So I took a half a second on the stage between the 2 makeups, or the third shot, I call them makeups, but 2 additional extra shots. I took a half a second penalty, but like it was worth the risk of a mic. And this early in the season without data collection on that kind of accuracy at that distance, it was worth it. So yeah, I am definitely going to push accuracy, but we see that in IPSC. accuracy is at a high demand. We saw it at this World Shoot with small steel. So, like, I know me, Casey, and Mason are going to work steel much harder on the next World Shoot or at this European Championship. And these are like 6-inch poppers, or little plates, not poppers,
Right.
out there trickled in, coming off a position or into position. Because I could see there was a little bit of an edge that the Europeans and other IPSC regions had over us on those. I will tell
familiarity.
Not to speak for Mason, but Mason and I looked at each other after day one and said, we should have worked steel targets a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, familiarity. So I get it.
It's all mental. It's not necessarily a skill set. It's just about applying it and being mentally confident at the end of the day. And that comes through repetition and not having things thrown at you that you haven't seen before, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, so I guess I haven't saved the file yet, but I went and looked at what I'm going to start tracking this year is I've done it in years past, but I'm really going to follow it this year is division popularity. And at Buckeye Blast, the top 5, 4 of them, all 4 optics divisions were in the top 5. You had Carry Optics. It doubled what Open had.
Yeah.
Open doubled what Limited had.
Yep.
And then you had PCC, Limited Optics, and then your normal 4 iron-sided divisions below that. So, and I'm not saying that that's not a negative thing I'm saying, but I'm just saying, going back to what you were talking about, optics are definitely increasing. It almost seems like everything's going to be optics at some point, and then they'll just have like an old school iron sight division for everybody that still wants to shoot iron sights, because optics are starting to run everything.
Yeah, I think it'll lend. I think USPSA can transition to more IPSC style stage designs that are a little bit more challenging on distance accuracy. I would still encourage them. There's some qualities to not group targets together to raise that hit factor, to put more accountability on someone coming into position to shoot one target. It seems simplistic. I know we love to run and gun, but there's ways you can achieve that without grouping targets together. But I'm telling you, like, when you group 3 targets together at the same distance, shoulder to shoulder, all you're doing is elevating the hit factor, because I can shoot 17 splits depending on the distance, or I can shoot the same splits, and my transitions are going to just rack up points. It doesn't test the skill. You give me one target where I either want to come in like a soft entry, not fully committed, stationary, or a soft exit, and one target at 15 yards, and now I risk pulling off that target. You're testing other skills, because I'm going to be pushing those true thresholds of accuracy and speed. I'm not going to want to overcommit to that position. You saw Mason kind of talk about that a little bit, where we're trying to find all those little nitbits of time. As he's doing, like, he's on YouTube right now doing his stage designs. People should really pay attention to where he's trying to find time. And I'll tell you, he's never trying to find time when there's 3 targets shoulder to shoulder, because everybody across the board can make those points, right? So, like, IPSC doesn't do that. IPSC knows that's not going to really separate the best from the best. If anyone goes on and watch Eric Raffel and watch him get it in and out of position and shoot one target here, one target there, and see how he does that while still collecting alphas, it's remarkable. Because, yeah, people can do that, get in one position, shoot alphas, but they can't do it as efficiently as he can with managing that risk. We're going to bleed a Charlie here and there over the best. And I think with Carry Optics, we're going to see that, hopefully. With the distance, I hope we stop lumping targets together and just shooting. One, it'll help with ammo, because you don't really need to run 32-round hosers with the ammo right now. And that doesn't really, it's fun. It's fun to trickle in every now and then. But I'll tell you what's more fun of running and gunning than just hosing is having like jungle-style runs, where it's like, you're doing wide transitions while moving forward, and you're running at a fast pace. You're not lumping targets together, but you're still moving and running gunning like John Wick. That I would recommend that over lumping 3 targets together in a 5-yard position. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
You can
And
still find that American fun of running and gunning without doing that and making it. You'll see there'll even at the high level, like even the super squad will have dispersions because some people will make a mistake on that one target. It's like, yeah, you pulled off of that and you threw a Charlie or worse, even a Delta,
and that's what I mean. Like if you're doing a local and you want to throw in a 32 round clump 4 here, clump 4 there, clump 4 there, okay, do what you want. But what we're talking about right now is, that national level match where all the heat is coming. Well, let's throw in some stages, a bunch of stages that actually test the shooter. And if you screw the pooch, well, you might drop from 3rd to 10th for that day. Because, you screwed the pooch, so you get what you deserve. But you're challenging them to see who truly is the best shooter.
Correct.
And not necessarily the one who's going to pull the trigger the fastest or whatever. Sure, have one of those or 2 of those stages, but it goes back to, everybody I'm talking to, even a PCC shooter is like, no, I don't want to shoot 50-yard targets with my PCC. I want to shoot pistol stages with my PCC. And I'm like, no, I want to see you do 75-yard shots with your PCC. Because I want to challenge you and your platform.
As long as there's a balance there to test all skills.
Absolutely.
I think 50, the 9mm is capable of it, but you're starting to really challenge that round, right? But certainly you don't have to have a whole match at 20 yards, right?
No.
But I like a balance of testing all the skills, and World Shoot did that very well.
I like the 3-2-1 format.
It is nice because people can get into kind of a groove with it, and it also helps them with stage planning because it kind of gives some organization and structure, right? So I think it would, if I was like planning stages for a major, like I was like, okay, I got a structure here. I know I need this and this and that. I think it's fair. Some people can't run 40 yards as fast as others, but I'll tell you, some people can shoot a short course very, very good, and so it also balances out on
Rob Latham
athleticism as well. I'll tell you, like, I'll take like a field course against some of my friends, but there are some that when you stand and deliver, it's like, man, they're untouchable. It's like
they look like Isaac or Jay.
Yeah, I can't wait to look at them. Like, there's a long course coming back up.
I get you.
I'm gonna get you and Tanya Harding you before hurt that kneecap before this stage, but I'm gonna get you. But
yeah. I mean, look at what 2 years ago, Rob Latham won single stack at what age? The guy can't run.
I think some knee conditions too.
Yes,
phenomenal shooter, man.
I mean, literally, you'd have to say for American shooting, you'd have to say the GOAT with 29 national championships in USPSA alone.
Yeah. I would say he's a specialist with the 1911, which is – so I missed that. Speaking of, let's go into that really quick. I missed the classic like it used to be. In fact, I bought 2 1911s because my desire was always to put my skills against the best. And that was like an early year match that all the pros went to, right? Because all the industry partners make a 1911. It's just not as popular anymore because Carry Optics is really taken over. But like everyone wanted a 1911 when I came in the sport, and all the pros shot it. Like, to watch Jake and Phil and Rob and Dave Svigny shoot that match. Those were my idols. I was like, I got to go to that match and shoot it. Like Todd Jarrett, like I got it. They're all there. So I bought, I got into production. I quickly bought 2 1911s, and then it kind of went away. But that's kind of what the new Carry Optics is. You get all the talent there, you know. But it was, I would say Rob Latham is the GOAT, definitely, because for the 1911, like, I don't know, man. I put Todd Jarrett, like when we just speak generally GOAT, which is a fun topic to speak about. Todd Jarrett used to own Eric Raffel. That's pretty remarkable. I will say Rob Vogel was the last one to, in America to beat Eric Raffel. And I know there were some conditions and caveats to that, but hands off to him for beating Eric Raffel. Dave Svigny, what he's been able to accomplish, Taryn Butler in shooting sports in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are a lot of American goats, and I'll tell you, like when we went overseas, we're putting on the American jersey, but I can tell there was a respect for America in general because of those champions that I just spoke of, and it was just an honor in some regard to get to represent their legacy, to say I'm an American here representing what they built. I learned off their skills. They were my idols. And one of the things I've always asked USPSA to do is they should have a Hall of Fame. They should have a Hall of Fame. They should give homage and recognition to the people that have built this sport in general, because IPSC was founded here. They should give recognition to the people that have evolved this sport. And, you know, I think that it speaks to American traditions to do that. And I would encourage USPSA to online have a Hall of Fame. And every year at Nationals, there maybe is a voting committee somehow, very similar to all our sports. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
And vote
people get to vote. And every year at Nationals, we induct somebody or something like that. And it can be off all categories, super senior, senior, to everything, juniors, female. You know, and there are remarkable people in the sport that you can name a trophy after, like Vogel, or not Vogel, but Voigt, and things like that. And I think that would be a great thing for this sport, especially with all the drama that's going off. We need things that bring this sport together.
You could easily make the case. I mean, you could have a lot of categories. Brian Conley hasn't picked up a pistol ever to shoot a USPSA match in competition that I've seen.
Sponsors,
but one of the greatest sponsors ever. So still has done so much for the sport. Brian Conley would be one that I could see going in at some point because of his contributions. Yeah, exactly.
It could be the community as a whole. Absolutely.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah, just like in baseball, they recognize sports announcers in the Hall of Fame and stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So we need some wins like that is low dollar amount but brings back that camaraderie and community spirit, and that's one I've been throwing in the hat.
Yeah, I agree. And even Todd mentioned that, you know, we need to have our own place where we can have this facility where people can come and see, and maybe hold nationals there and other events, and people can see the history of the sport, because that is the one thing that, well, look, I mean, just a year and a half ago, whatever it was, when I'd get online to see the past champions, there was like three-quarters of a year of competing that wasn't even filled in. I knew who they were, thank God, and we could find them in practice score. Yeah. But that's getting better, but still, you know, there needs to be a place where people can go and read and see and touch and do.
And that's a model you can build and then offer to even the club levels and say, like, look, we're going to help you, like Practice Score. We control the Hall of Fame website, and we'll offer your club to be sponsored. When you become a member of USPSA as an organization, you get a Hall of Fame status. Your club can start uploading all their data in there. Because I recently went to where Nationals used to be held in my home club, Fredericksburg, Virginia, Rod and Gun Club. And they have all the original trophies in there, collecting dust in the trailer. And it'd be pretty cool. I'll have to take some pictures and send them to you. But it's a one trophy, kind of like the U.S. Open, where all the names just kept going around it.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is epic. Like, this is like history in our sport. But it's also at the club level. And I'm like, you can see Todd Jarrett on there, Rob Francisco, Megan Francisco, like all these great shooters. And I'm like, that, you know, having that heritage in my backyard, you know, where Nationals used to be shot, made me think about that. I was like, we really need a Hall of Fame. You know, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I know all about the Football Hall of Fame. And I'm like, this means something to people. Or it's just inspirational to younger shooters coming into the sport to see, you know, that, hey, one day I could get my name there in some way to represent, you know, what I gave to this community. So,
yeah.
Didn't mean to go on a rant there, but.
No, that's good. But that's the way that's the direction we need to go. So.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah. Now, what I want to talk about is Cardinal Shooting Center. It
Yeah.
is going to be the home of Karyoptics Nationals here in about a month and 3 weeks.
Yep.
So, what was your take on the facility and hosting nationals?
Yep. The facility, one, it's where I'm from, Ohio. I grew up there in Cleveland, Ohio, so it's about an hour and a half away from my mom's house. So that's
Okay,
kind of cool.
that's
Um,
nice.
it's farm country. It's rural America. You have great staff there, very enthusiastic to put on a great match. I will tell you, I saw ROs making adjustments and talking to each other during the match, which is not typically seen. They're trying to make improvements even on day 3 of the match, to polish themselves up. And I've seen that at IPSEC, but it's hard to sometimes see it. Now, I'm sure it happens. I'm not trying to say it doesn't, but like that was pretty cool to see the level of ROs there. And I know Russ was there and some others. Um, it's broken into 2 zones. The bays are pretty decent size. They could be a little bit wider to like IPSC standards, but they can hold really good stages there. They're going to need some help with some stage designs. I think, hopefully USPSA steps in and helps them like they traditionally do at nationals for that. There was just some, like, I don't think you should necessarily have box stages at a match like that, but it was only 1 or 2, so it wasn't that bad at Ohio State. It was kind of cool. I don't mind boxes. Um, they could have had some more movers. So I don't know if they're still getting some more steel and movers, but they're definitely going to need that for a national level match, in my opinion, because I think steels and movers usually separates a lot of people because it challenges you on another level. So I didn't. I think they only had like 2 movers. One was not really even. It broke at 90. They weren't really that hard, but they had one real challenging mover. That I was like, all right, now that's getting a little too extreme. It's almost like I'm serious. It was a tuxedo on a bobber, and you're on a wobbling bridge, and I had to go to 10 rounds. So because I had to do 2 passes on it, and then they had steel behind it, in front of it, so you didn't even know if you hit the cover.
Oh,
I'm
man, I
like,
hate
okay,
those.
you got to test one thing. The bobber on the bridge would have been extreme enough. You didn't have to have the steel. You didn't have to push me to 10 rounds. Allow shooters to give some makeups on it easier with the round count, things like that. Um, but my curiosity is how the state. It's a new range, so how is it going to handle drainage? Because we don't get to control the weather, as you know. It did rain at that match, but not hard enough for me to see it manage the rain. But I could see it from my experience of talking to Fredericksburg Rod and Gun Club with the match director there and kind of helping out. Like I could see it was graded pretty well. I could see that they had some channels built. They had a retaining area for water. They have definitely the parking. They can continue to even expand
Okay.
that. I think they have enough land there. I don't know what the owner wishes to do. They could easily hold a world shoot there. So if
Wow.
they're successful and they can put investment in it, they can run 40 stages there all day long. They don't have 40 bays created now, but they definitely have the land and growth opportunity there if someone ever made an investment like World Shoot into it. So
Well,
that's kind of cool. I will tell you, I don't know how the hotel situation is because I stayed at my mom's, because it's not always about those facilities, it's about what bringing families and the community in the area. So that's the one thing great about Florida is I can always take my family to Orlando and do those things. Or Vegas. If we go out to Utah, you got Vegas afterwards. So there's probably not a lot of, I would challenge people to like do rural America, like go camping, go fishing, maybe go up to Lake Erie, Cedar Point. There's things to do there. You're just going to, it's not your Vegas. It's not going to always be jumping out at you in your face. Like you're going to have to like think like, okay, let's go camping. Let's do this. Let's go boating. So there are things to do in Ohio, but there's not like a main attraction like Vegas or Disney World. So we'll see. I'm really curious about the hotel situation because I didn't even look at that on a map because I just went home. But I'm sure it's fine. You probably people stay. You could stay
it's
in Columbus.
fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. The roadways, you're not going to have to deal with traffic. That's the nice thing. People are when you put in your GPS what the route is, you're probably going to find that's the actual time to get to the range. So because it's just all farmland, you're not going to have to deal with rush hour and things like that. So that's a bonus.
Thank God.
There will be really good food there in Ohio. Get your steaks out, and things like that. We have some great farmland there. So definitely get out to some steakhouses and stuff like that.
Well, I had two comments. One, I mean, they do have a campground there, so Phil Strader's in luck there. He can bring his RV down and camp there.
6 hour on display, yep.
Yep, and Corey Katz from Cardinal Practical Shooters was telling me that basically the board of Cardinal Practicals or a Cardinal Shooting Center is basically looking for world domination as it pertains to holding or hosting matches. So it wouldn't surprise me if they heard about IPSC and a world shoot and held it there one year and just blew it out of the water.
If you look at their layout and when people go there and see the land that they still have accessible, with those words that you just spoke, I would not be surprised if they're going to build it out to be able to handle a world shoot. Their trap center, their skeet center there. And we know Ohio is not a stranger to world-class shooting sports. We have Perry.
Yes.
All the law enforcement and military matches are held there. So this is at the heart of America. 2A is friendly. I will tell you, the first vehicle I pulled up into the parking lot, across the back windshield, it said, "We the people." So you are in friendly territory. I will tell you that much.
Okay. Well, we'll never be in Illinois. That's for sure.
Hopefully one day.
Yeah, hopefully. But as long as they allow people in the cities to vote, we won't be.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully America wakes up one day and realizes what it is.
Hopefully sooner rather than later, Yeah. Is there anything else that you saw at World Shoot that you feel USPSA or practical shooting sports in general should incorporate more of?
There's some little polishing on the RO level. I am not an RO, so I'm only observing this as a competitor. But they're doing little things like calling hand signals out to speed up the scoring process. Their pacing and scoring is much more consistent and efficient. And what we're seeing is they're able to run people through more stages. I only offer this to look for these efficiencies because I see USPSA growing stage. Squads are getting bigger. There's only so many stages we can build out squads to, right? So like the answer to that is we need to start looking at becoming more efficient to make this an enjoyable member participate sport, right? Nobody wants to go there and shoot from dawn to dusk. So like I would encourage, for some training on some of those aspects. I will tell you at Nationals last year, there was one squad of ROs that were on par with IPSC ROs. And I think everybody probably knows who I'm talking about that shot Nationals because it was clear as day. But the way they worked as a system, the way they had the consistencies built, the way they ironed out the details, the way they called scoring, you were as a shooter would walk the stage and be done and hit enter. And it was pace it and reset and go. And it was kind of funny because we walked off that stage and those ROs were sitting in their recliners drinking a soda and waiting on the next stage because they were done. So like there are those efficiencies out there, but my hat's off to all the ROs. They're all volunteers. I'm appreciative of them. I'm just saying like there are some skills out there to acquire and be taught and to maybe polish it up. So that is not a dig on RO or volunteer staff at all. It's just a difference that I see in how they run. I would say steel was much more consistent. So the steel that they had on, I would like to see. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that our current popper calibration isn't working. It's not the answer. I commend to try to make a change because I always tell this to to the people in my office back at the shop that not making a decision is making a decision. You're just choosing not to be, not to change. So I commend them for making some kind of change. But like obviously, there's after watching what happened to JJ and things, like that's not the answer. Like we went through IPSC. I saw one fair equity challenge. It was on that weird swinger. It wasn't as consistent as it needed to be fair across the board. But the steel all knocked down. So whether it's USPSA certifies certain steel for like national level matches or whatever it is, I'm at the point that like it means so much to people. Like USPSA almost might need to be in the lane of trucking in your own steel. Like this is our steel for nationals. We've validated that this is built to our consistency and will work every time. We're just going to truck it in on a trailer and use that for the match. I don't know what the answer is, but I didn't see those problems at the World Shoot. And the poppers they had poppers being inspected regularly. They had alternates on side by that they could immediately switch it out without even causing a delay per se. Things like that. And then just the stage, the quality of the stages were remarkable. I will tell you, they had a lot of fun with the stages. We could name each stage, but the theme was food, obviously Thailand.
Okay.
So one stage we called the shrimp stage. The next stage we called the pineapple stage. So like they do some fun things with themes. And I remember back when I started shooting in Orlando at Frostproof, the Florida Open was always a theme like that. I would imagine Frank Garcia, a longtime competitor, took those takeaways away from IPSC and started to do themes. So I remember like one year it was a racing theme. So like we had car tires and it was a racetrack stage. You had to run around the stage, north, south, come back, right? It was like, oh, it's a racetrack. One, you had to hold a beer can and, they're half targets. Oh, it's like Formula One. You can only see the top half of the driver. Like, I miss those themes because it builds fun. Now, yeah. I get it. Somebody's got to set it up and think of that, and it's all volunteer time. No one gets paid for it, so I'm not complaining again. And this is the sensitive side, me not trying to hurt feelings. But those were fun things. And if it continues to do that, we used to do in some matches that we've gotten away from. So I it would be cool at Nationals if we found a theme. I don't know, Ohio. Put some cows out there and some barns. I don't know. But it's kind of cool. It makes it fun. It makes it an experience. People can talk about it. People when they're videotaping can remember that stage. It adds to it. That's all.
Why not make it a Hall of Fame shoot and just have different shooters? This stage is Todd Jerry. This one's Jerry Barnhart. This one's so-and-so. You know what I mean?
You know this very well, but it touches yours and mine. It hits deeply to you and me. Every year at Virginia State, they do Medal of Honor recipients.
Yes, they do.
And I'll tell you right now, like, given in Virginia where we are and the amount of military and the government and stuff, that hits right home. So that's the creativity I'm talking about. We have a lot of veterans in Virginia. We have a lot of law enforcement. And when they do that, that makes that match a little bit more special and hits home to a lot of people. And lets us remind that we're not just a community of competitors, but we're a community of Second Amendment advocates and understanding that this is a privilege and a freedom that we should all enjoy. So, yeah, even in Virginia, we do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a theme is a good idea. I think that could work.
Yeah, just a little touch.
I mean, isn't Major League Baseball Hall of Fame is it in Ohio or New York?
I think we have both football and Major League Baseball.
That's what I thought too. Mm-hmm. So again, I mean, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So wherever USPSA is headquartered, or I'm sure they can come up with a creative way that's meaningful to USPSA members where to hold it. But man, that's so low dollar amount, but so nice to do. I would encourage that some of our membership money went to paying for like World Shoot, paying for the airfare for that competitor to come to nationals if he's not competing, to receive his award, something like that. There's just so much for a low dollar amount we can do to build that community together. But I've said enough about Hall of Fame.
It's all good. It's all good stuff.
Cheers to all the people that made the sport what it is. and all
There
the
you
people
go.
that enjoy it today. Yep.
And those yet to come.
Yep, and those yet to come.
Because hopefully they're your kids and everybody else's kids.
Yep.
My kids talk about it at times, but I haven't seen them do anything yet, so I'm not going to say my kids yet.
My kid probably thinks that rifle behind you is cooler than my pistol, so he's probably going to be calling you saying, "I want
Well,
to
I
go
mean,
shoot with David."
I would agree with them, but that's just me because I'm a rifle guy.
I'm telling you, as a Marine, I never shot at distance, but the first time I saw a vapor trail of a bullet, I literally thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I don't know. Maybe it's just a thing to you, but like, the Marines, I was at Quantico, and I'm like, I got this rifle. I've never shot it. I want to shoot it at 1,000 yards. And they're like, all right, if we teach you how to set up right, that sight and optic should come right back down. You should see the vapor trail. And I saw it for the first time. Like, that has to be the coolest thing. I was like a kid at like 28 years old, 30 years old. I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, that was so cool. So
let's do it again.
Do it again. I'm like, $250 a round. I'm like, all right, let's slow down.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, there is something to be said about hitting a target at long range because there's a lot more that goes into it.
Those PRS marks, I think it's called PRS, right?
Yeah.
Like tactical long range.
Yep.
So it's like USPSA, but with a precision rifle, right?
Yep.
Very cool. They're holding them here at USPSA, or I mean at Quantico, right in my backyard, and I definitely want to do one.
Todd Jarrett's gotten into a few of those too.
Oh, I'll have to hook them up. The Marines are so friendly. You go there. There's a lot of what I call classic old timers there. They'll take you under their wing. So I'm definitely going to do it.
Okay.
I'll have to let you know how it goes. You'll laugh at me.
No, man, it's like USPSA. It's no different. Nobody's going to laugh at you if you get out there and do it.
10 rounds.
That's
click,
okay.
Oh, click.
Son of a.
Yeah. Well, the difference between me and you is you can probably get on target on one round. Yeah, that's your job. Mine, it might take me 5 or 6. But
it's all good.
It's fun.
It is fun. It's still shooting.
Yep.
So it's all fun. Well, Matt, that's everything I wanted to cover.
Cool.
Other than nationals this year, anything significant?
Yeah, I finally got on the Czech team. So I've never been a competitor. I've had other offers I kind of shoot what I like. I'm in a financial position where I don't really need to do it for the funding per se. It is nice. It does help. I'll tell you, all the money goes right back into just meeting my shooting goals.
Right.
I shot CZ. I started with CZ, Czech blood, so I got some heritage there. So to get on the CZ team, was a dream come true. I owe a lot to Matt Hopkins and Jared Fox for accepting me. I've done things for the company on the law enforcement side, not competitively, and now I'm excited to shoot this season with them. They sent me some of their new pieces.
That's pretty.
This is the new TS2 orange. It's got that bull barrel. The nice thing about this is it's very similar to my Shadow 2. The weight's obviously a little different, but the balance point's similar. So I shot Ohio State. This was my 3rd time winning production, but seeing where, as you just mentioned, where the divisions are going, this is likely what I'm going to shoot at Ohio State next year is limited. I'm just an iron sights kind of guy. So I got this season to kind of work this in, get it running. So the way I like it, get used to it. And then I'll probably shoot Delmarva on Ohio State next year in limited.
40?
And it'll be 40 major. I've seen some of the data out there on 9mm, but I still think major has a little bit of win, especially in USPSA.
I think I just heard Nell say, go ahead and bring it.
I would tell you this. This is pretty cool. I wish they did these top slide serrations on the Shadow 2 because they tri-top theirs, and I came off of a Tamfo that I shot for a couple seasons, and they round theirs. And when you do a rack, I tend to like pinch. And this just catches a little bit better. I have to pinch a little bit harder on the Shadow 2. So hopefully they make this adjustment to the Shadow 2s in the future. Hint, hint. I hope they do. But the bull barrel is really cool. I'm excited to see if they extend this into other lines. But yeah, I'm super excited to get to represent them along with all my other sponsors. And, you know, I wish the teams kind of dissipated a little bit. I know Matt Hopkins and Jared have moved on to great things with other companies, but yeah, you know, 2 wins with them. I'm looking to show my best the rest of the year. So thank you, CZ, and thanks, David, for having me on.
Yeah, congratulations for that. One
Thank
quick
you.
question on the new CZ with the bull barrel. How much is that supposed to help with accuracy?
So yeah, so I think we're gonna, you know, I'm not an engineer, but what we should see out of this is a little bit better balancing to mitigate that recoil. It's kind of right where you want it on the extension, right? And you still get that high uppercut receiver, you know, where it's inlaid into the lower receiver versus on the outside, and it's tri-top. So like, I think the balancing point on this is gonna be phenomenal. I have shot the regular TS2s. So I'll get a little bit more data on this if we want to talk about it later. But the other thing that we should see with this bull barrel is a lot more longevity and barrel life. And if you're any other USPSA or IPSC shooter, we like throwing rounds down range, and it kind of sucks to fit a new barrel or get a barrel to this tolerance of, you know, a finely tuned hand fitted gun. So
yeah,
it's nice that I'll be able to run this gun a lot longer without having to worry about that as well.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited about it. Other than that, I mean, most of the other features are the same. You know, I did make one adjustment to it. I got this angled safety. I don't know if you can kind of see that.
Yep.
But when it's in its up position, it's essentially, with my shorter thumbs, I don't have to push all the way down. So that's pretty cool. That doesn't come stock on the gun, but if anyone's interested in where I got that, I can push them a quick link.
Okay.
And this works on the TS2 and the Checkmate as well. That's
okay. Now, if they wanted to reach out, talk to you about that, or even traveling the world and shooting, they had questions about that. Where's the best place to reach you?
Yeah, probably Instagram, MN Shooting.
Okay.
I also have a webpage, www.mnshooting.com, where you can get on WhatsApp or email me. So those are anything MN Shooting on Google should get you to me.
Okay.
Pretty good. And I usually I try to get to people every day unless I'm traveling overseas. So if you see like a 5-6 day break, that's likely I'm overseas. Just give me the benefit of the doubt there. But most of the time I get back to people 24 hours.
Cool. Well, I will then, I'll add some links to the bottom in the notes so that people can reach out to you there.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome. Thank you, man. It's always a fun conversation when you're here.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on. It's great to see what you've done with the podcast. Definitely representing our sport, just like Brian Connolly, in the same light. And it's always cool to talk to a fellow Marine.
Awesome. Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.